Hello and welcome. Hang on, I just got a message. Huh? Uh, Hello and welcome to Somewhere on the Spectrum. I am Emma, and my friend is asking me how does she find this live. I don't know. I think it's on the channel somewhere. Hello and welcome. So today, this is another live. If you weren't here last time, you didn't see the previous video, my computer broke, can't do any editing, so I'm trying to do the lives. I'm also going away at the end of the month for 2 weeks, so I'm probably going to do 2 next week as well. Going to try and see how we get on with the energy levels, so that you've got the full 4 from this month, which could be a good idea or a bad idea. I don't know. It's very stressful. Anyway, so today's here we go. Today's episode is requested. This was requested from one of our listeners, although I looked through all of the comments and I can't find the comment anymore. So I don't know if you deleted it. If you did, that's cool. But that's why I'm not mentioning your name, because I can't find it. It could just me being bad at YouTube. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for the comment and the request. I appreciated it. I did write it down at the time, and I'm now doing it. So the request was, can you talk about friends who later want romance? Yeah, yes, I can. Yes, I definitely can. This one hit a nerve with me. It took me a while to get to it because it was a little bit, this has a lot of history. There's a lot of history with this one. So we're going to start at the beginning. We're going to start at the very beginning, and I'm going to tell you three stories. And also I want to look at 3 things that I think this has to do with. One of them is very personal to me, but the other 2 I think is probably general to all of us. And let me know in the comments if you have any stories of your own, but also if you think that these 3 things that I'm suggesting, or at least the last 2 of them, are in line with your guesses or your experiences. Sorry. Okay, so the thing is, this started early for me. This started really early for me. When I was like 10, we moved house, and that was my first experience. So I'm not kidding when I said it started early for me. But in my younger years, I now have another message. Hang on a second. In my younger years, this actually happened weirdly often. It sounds a bit arrogant to say it like that, but the truth is that every time it was really, really upsetting for me. I was not enjoying this experience. And I think the comment from the person who requested it suggests that they too were not enjoying the experience. The assumption is that when anybody says that they like us, we should be grateful, and we should, that should be a great thing. But I think for many of us neurodiverse folks, it often comes as a bit of a surprise. It's a little bit scary. So the first time it happened for me, I was 10. We were moving house. And on my last day of school, my very best friend at the time handed me a note to tell me that he loved me. In a way, this was the easiest one because I never saw him again. Yay! Lucky me. I couldn't ask any questions. I couldn't clarify, is this what you mean? It was long before there was any sort of Facebook or mobile phones or even emails. So I couldn't check what he meant. But I kind of got an idea. I felt something. I felt like this was not what I thought we were as a friendship. And that made me feel very uncomfortable. I was baffled. How could this be? What did it mean? I was lost. Many, many years later, I had another best friend. I found it much easier to stay friends with boys, and I still do. But there was also something else going on in my head, which we'll get to in a minute. So this time I was about 16, and we had been friends for a few years, and I told him everything. And I was starting to feel quite lost in my life. I was doing all the things that teenagers do: boyfriends, parties, had a gang of friends, but things just didn't quite feel right. This is a 4-page episode, by the way, so we'll be turning these pages. Now, looking back, oh, my notebook just fell apart. Now, looking back, I can recognize that telling me how he felt, like repeatedly, like he did it probably 4 or 5 times. And every time he was like cutting open his heart. I recognized that that was very difficult for him. And I definitely made it worse in my reaction to this. In hindsight, although I had boyfriends, they were mostly just friends, really. I was pretty immature for my age, and although there were some kisses, I was still pretty innocent. In addition, looking back, I think having a boyfriend was like a tick in the box for me of achieving teenager status, evidence to myself that I was doing it right and fitting in. These are all related to masking, right? So, from my perspective, as someone who didn't know they were masking, had no idea that I was autistic, had no idea that I was masking, didn't know that everybody else wasn't doing the same kind of thing. But definitely, I feel now looking back that I did have like a checklist of what I thought you did as a teenager, and I was working my way through them. So one of them was having a boyfriend. And once I had that, I felt like I remember getting back together with a boyfriend of mine and this feeling of elation about it. And when I look back now, that elation wasn't, I'm so excited to be together with this person. It was, I'm so excited to have a boyfriend. It was about achieving that goal rather than the particular individual. And obviously, that's problematic. So, because of all of that, my reaction to the suggestion of a sincere relationship with this very good friend was a bit extreme every single time. But in each case, I very much saw these boys as my friends. I had never flirted with them, as far as I was aware, or given any hint of an interest that would be past friendship. So these always sort of came from left field for me. I was always shocked, staggered, and astounded by them. There are 3 things going on here, and it took me a really long time to unpick them. So let me tell you what they are, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail. The first one, I don't think will necessarily relate to you in any way. So the first one for me is I saw these boys as brothers. I'm going to come back to it in just a sec. Number 2, yeah, so the romantic relationship was a bit shocking. So, number 2, I never imagined that they actually really loved me. This one may apply to you. And number 3, compulsory heterosexuality made me assume that I was straight with 0 alternative examples. Okay, I did do a whole video on compulsory heterosexuality. I'll try and remember to put it in the description. It's definitely not there yet. So the first one, as I said, probably won't apply to you. After several decades, and it's amazing, you know, for a long time, I would have said I was a fast processor, but these really deep things, man, am I slow. I am so very, very slow. So it did take me several decades after our friendship had ended to realize that I had been searching for a brother figure and had inadvertently placed each of these boys who were my friends in that role without either of us realizing. Oopsie. So for me, then, when they wanted to step out of that role, that was an impossibility. In my mind, they were very firmly brothers, so it was very eek to think about anything more. And of course, since I wasn't aware, there was no way for me to sensibly process through that. I was just horrified at the suggestion. So that is my own mess that probably doesn't apply to you. I do think it is worth, though, when you are post diagnosis and starting to sort of sort through your life, it is definitely worth going back. If there are particular things, so for me, romantic relationships has been a particular point of challenge in my life. If there are things like that in your life, it is worth going back and looking at them again with that new perspective and considering if there are different ways or reasons why that might be, because you might come across something that you are not expecting. So I think really the next two are more likely to apply to you. So now I think as a direct result of my autism and my masking, I had a strong subconscious belief that I was unlovable. And I think this really it came from my earlier life. But I have to say, I don't think this is based in me not actually being loved, but I think it's partly to do with my perception of what it required to be loved. It's complicated, obviously, these things usually are. Anyway, at the time, when I was having these realizations, I had a therapist and I was discussing this particular story with that therapist, the one about when I was 16. And she said, "But what if he really did love you?" Until that point, it had never crossed my mind that he might actually have loved me, might actually have wanted a relationship with me. It just never, ever crossed my mind. Until that point, I had been furious with him. And we're talking for like 15 years. I've been furious with him for ruining our friendship over something as silly as dating, literally, how my brain was thinking. And I had never imagined that he was sincere. Once I had that realization that it was in fact possible that he could perhaps have been sincere, then I felt a lot more compassion for him. And I felt pretty bad about how I had dealt with the situation. But ultimately, my lack of social skills meant that I couldn't understand the situation at the time. And I just felt abandoned by my best friend, was really where a lot of the anger was coming from, a lot of the frustration. I was very confused about what was going on. It didn't make any sense to me, and I couldn't process my way out of it. And he wasn't telling me anything, but in fact, he had told me things. I just wasn't hearing anything he had told me. I didn't want to believe anything he told me. So, big mess, joy of being a teenager. A lot of this problem for us autistics often stems from our lack of understanding about social situations. But it can sometimes be because someone reads our niceness as flirting. These two things are connected because often we don't know how to identify flirting. So if you ask anyone in the autistic community, this is a really tricky topic for everybody. Not only do we not know when we're flirting or being perceived to be flirting, but we also don't know when someone else is flirting with us. This could mean that we miss an opportunity because we don't see that opportunity is being opened up to us. But it could also mean that people misunderstand us. They can misunderstand us from a few different directions we're going to come to in a second, but that is a big problem for us. And often, because we struggle to identify the markers that someone is flirting with us, then that can really get us in trouble. In addition, we often don't consider gender at all. That old axiom that men and women can't be friends seems strange to us. And again, I would ask around in the autistic community, is it just you? But I don't think it is. From the people that I have spoken to, a lot of us don't understand why men and women can't be friends. We're like, sure, obviously we can. Huh? Why is this a difficult question? Seems obvious. What we don't realize is that this is actually probably less about possibility. Of course, they can be friends. And it's more about cultural norms and expectations. And we don't tend to follow cultural norms or expectations. And even if we do, we don't tend to understand them. So therefore, we're a bit confused. We tend to trust the people around us. A lot of us, some are really good at not doing that, which can be quite helpful, but I suck at that. We tend to trust the people around us, sometimes more than we should. And we assume that everybody else also trusts the people around them, which is definitely not the case. Wives don't trust husbands, sadly, often with good reason. Husbands don't trust wives. Women don't trust each other. And what cheating is to one is nothing to another. So this is already very complicated in terms of humans with humans. But when we take that to this sort of cultural norms and expectations, I have discovered, for example, that men who were my friends through school, now I'm expected to talk with their wives rather than them. I don't know their wives as well. It seems very strange to me when my friend is the guy, but both of them are expecting their wives to talk to me. And there is this like distance put there, which is fine. Like, I get it now. It's no problem. But when I was a younger person, it was very strange, and I couldn't understand what was going on. And the reality is, what's going on is walls are being put there because other people are seeing in our behavior what we are not intending. And so therefore we are also not seeing. We are just being friends and they are seeing something else. So yes. So our, obviously to us, friendship is viewed with suspicion or as a contest, competition, or a trial even by other people. You know, a trial like, I bet I can get you to date me. I bet I can get you to whatever kind of thing. And this discovery is often devastating to us. It means that all the friendship that we took to heart was never real. The thing is, it could have been real. To some extent, it could have been real. But the fact that somebody is willing to leave all of that behind and sometimes be not very nice about it, so that they can get us in some other way, can be very upsetting. So this whole thing was particularly hard for my last experience. That is, again, we're still talking many, many years ago. Due to compulsory heterosexuality, I have not been in a relationship for a super long time. That is also one of the reasons why this hit hard for me, because I felt for many years that I had been the confusing factor. And so I needed to just stop dating and that would solve the problem. And to be fair, it did. But now, many years later, in hindsight, I see that it was not quite as simple as that. And my autism was a big part of the reason why this was a bit more complicated. It's also one of those things that you get sort of angry and frustrated that there wasn't more support or awareness about it. Anyway, so the last experience, he told me that he loved me like so many times. And most of those times, I, like what we would say now, I blocked him. And yeah, I blocked him and ran away. I ghosted him pretty much most of the times that he did this. Before ghosting people was actually a thing. And so there were many years where we were not talking to each other. And then we'd come back together. He'd say, yeah, just want to be friends, just want to be friends. We'd be friends for a while. He professes undying love to me. I'd ghost him again. We'd go away. So this kind of went on for a while. So I didn't have a huge amount of trust for him, because as we previously said, I never believed that he actually did love me. But he told me so many times, and during a particularly vulnerable time, I decided to trust him and date him and see what happened. It didn't last, obviously. But when we broke up, his parting statement was, "My Emma wouldn't do this." And that hit me very hard, because it really made it clear to me that he had never loved me, but instead had constructed a version of me in his head, probably in all of those times that I was ghosting him. And this version of me had never been affected by the reality. Even though we were together for quite a few months, he had never adapted this version in his head with the person that was actually in front of him. And so then when we broke up, he was very frustrated that I wasn't behaving as the person in his head, and really wasn't able to see me for who I was, which was a big part of why we broke up. To be fair, my my masking probably hadn't helped the situation. I have been a bit of a chameleon in relationships, which definitely is a problem. But having somebody who so many times tells you you love them, he loved you, and then to realize that he never really did was quite difficult to deal with. This is like, I felt like, okay, I'll trust you. And then you were kind of lying the whole time. I mean, he didn't know he was lying. I didn't know he was lying, but he kind of was lying the whole time. So here, I think the third reason, although the second reason still stands, the third reason is still relevant. Compulsory heterosexuality ensures that we all grow up believing that straight relationships are the norm. We see very few alternatives in books, films, or even advertisements. Luckily, that is changing now. Brilliant, great, but it also feels like we're going backwards quite a bit now, which isn't so great. So hopefully the younger generation has a lot more models and understanding of the diversity within gender and sexuality. But I feel like a lot of places, governments, people in positions of power are trying to shut that down and return us all to male, female, heterosexuals, done. And there are supposed to be about 8 billion people in the world. I don't think it's likely that these are the only options available to us. Anyway, despite my having several gay and lesbian friends over the years and going to a American Girl Scout camp with Camp America when I was in university, which was probably the most lesbian-filled place I've ever been to in my whole life, it never crossed my mind that I wasn't straight. Not once. There were things that happened that confused the life out of me. But I did not think, oh, that's confusing me because I'm not straight. No, not at all. That confused me because I was sure that I was straight. I didn't connect me seeing men as friends with me not wanting them sexually. That never, I assumed that I did want them sexually. Doesn't everybody? And there was nothing for me to compare that to. There was nothing around me for me to understand the difference or to understand what an LGBTQ relationship might look like that might be different to a hetero relationship, to how I felt in a relationship, how safe, secure, honored, appreciated, recognized for who I was. That's actually not what happens in a lot of straight relationships. So I didn't know that that's what I was supposed to be looking for. Who knew? Anyway, now, decades later, I can say, no, I really never was flirting with you. In confidence, I know this for sure. And I really did just see you as a friend. Yep. How many of us have got lost through masking, through our social challenges, and through compulsory heterosexuality? I think that there are a lot more LGBTQ people than the mainstream society wants us to imagine. And the research so far shows that in the neurodiverse community, the chances are even higher. So it's very easy for us to assume, because when we're younger, we're desperately trying to fit in. It's very easy for us to assume that we're straight because that is fitting in. Why would you look at somebody who clearly is being isolated and say, oh, I want to be like that, when everything in your brain and body is telling you that you need to figure out how to fit in? It just doesn't make any sense. So for those of us, especially high maskers or late diagnosed folks that were never caught, then it's very possible that there's something there that's worth looking at. I am not saying that everybody's gay. And I'm not saying that you need to do anything about any of this either. I think that there's a huge, long journey, and it's up to you how fast you want to take that journey. For me, I am a slow coach. I am going at snail's pace. And a lot of it for me is about processing and taking the time to ask myself questions and to research and to look at stuff that I wouldn't have looked before, look for stories that I wouldn't have thought to look for before, and to ask myself, like, what does this mean? What do I feel about this? How is this important to me or not important to me? And that is really helpful. And in the end, you may decide to not do anything with it, and it may not be necessary for you, and you may be fine, and that's great. But you may also find that you've perhaps been living something that isn't quite as authentic as you thought it was. And it's really important to realize that our whole society is in on the game. You know, everything is in on the game to keep you believing that you are straight and you are cis. So if you didn't figure out that you're not, that's not on you. Anyway, the need to conform through masking is really, really great. It's really enormous for us. And we absolutely can miss our own gender and sexuality. You know, I was having a conversation with a friend, we're going off piece slightly, but I was having a conversation with a friend the other day who was really surprised that one of his friends, when she finally came out, had turned into this raging lesbian. And this particularly tends to happen with sort of mask looking lesbians, and people are always like super surprised at the transformation. But I have to say that it never crossed my mind that I could wear clothes from the men's department. Like, as someone who was following the rules, it wasn't about what was appropriate or not appropriate. And the men's wear actually fits me quite a bit better than the women's wear. And I feel more comfortable in a lot of the stuff that I have there compared to the stuff in the women's area, which usually is too flowery for me. But I couldn't even, it wasn't even from a like, oh, I want to be a boy. There was never any of that there. There still isn't any of that there. But even just that, allowing yourself to go and explore those kind of things and consider, will I feel more comfortable? Just was not something I'd anticipated. So it is absolutely, I mean, I'm 45 now. And it's only just in the last 2 years that I have started questioning this part of who I am. And I put my romantic relationships on hold back in 2013. Maybe 2013, 14. So I decided at that point that I shouldn't be dating people because I was a danger to others. I was hurting people. And I put that all on myself, and I didn't really think about how much of this was something else. I'm glad I paused that now, because I think I was right to do that. And clearly I needed the time to think it through. But the fact that I decided that I wasn't worth having another person, that I wasn't worthy of having another person, that's the part that kind of I'm not really okay with now. Anyway, yes. So yeah, post-diagnosis certainly is an adventure. Let me know which part of this video resonated most for you. You can drop a comment. Luckily, nobody came to watch this video, so it is half an hour long. Again, you can get to see all of the things in this video that I would usually have edited out. I hope it wasn't too boring for you. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you found this useful. And let me tell you, next week, I think I'm going to aim to do it on Sunday, but I do have a busy weekend planned, so it may end up being Monday. I will drop in the, when I figured out when I'm doing it, I'm going to drop it in the posts so that you can know if you want to tune in. And next time we're going to be talking about work, another topic that has been requested for me to do more things about work. So that's what we're going to do next week. If you'd like to tune in to that, and I'll see you then. All right. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.